Greetings, everybody. It's Rose Sedan, Wild Reiki and Shamanic Healing, back for day 4 of my daily Facebook Live broadcasts, Reiki Shamanic tips for challenging times. And for those of you who might be meeting me for the first time, I offer energy healing sessions for animals and people, teach online classes, lead events with the animals, and write about my experiences. And I'm the author of Tales of a Healer, Animals, Reiki, and Shamanism, and countless blog posts. So before we dive in, I would very much like to thank everybody for their incredible outpouring of support for this foray of mine into the world of technology and attempts to offer what I can from ancient technology, if you will, to assist the people and the animals with tips, inspiration, and stories for these challenging times. So originally I was going to talk about how to utilize your Reiki 2 skills during these challenging times, but today's message felt like it needed to come from the animals. I'm grateful to have this platform, this form of getting the guidance out there that my allies want and that feel very needed. And again, it's not necessarily my guidance, it's shared experiences, messages from the animals, information that's been gifted to me through spirit and through teaching and training and learning what helps students and clients. Today's message felt like it needed to come from the animals. And last night, I hosted a call for a series that I do called Listening to Zoo Animal Ambassadors. And it's one that I offer every year. Starting in December, we go to a different zoo every month. Point Defiance Zoo and Aquarium is the first one. The second one is Northwest Trek, Native Wildlife. And the Cougar Mountain Zoo is the third month. And then the final one is the Woodland Park Zoo here in Seattle. And our visit with the animals was to be live this month. And for reasons that everybody understands, you know, we're all in lockdown. The zoo is closed. All the zoos are closed. The keepers, the people who care for the animals, are still there, taking care of them, but it's not open to the public. And so I had to seek guidance. It's like, well, normally we would go and meet with the animals personally to collect their prayers, bring them in ceremony. The purpose of listening to Zoo Animal Ambassadors is because they are the ambassadors, the connections to the natural world, to the wild ones. And they are a way, as ambassadors from a shamanic perspective, their prayers, their connection, their knowledge of us as people, because they come into contact with us. They see themselves as ambassadors. And they feel that their role is important, not just from a conservation standpoint as representative of their species, physically representative of their species, but also from a spiritual perspective. And the guidance that I got, since we couldn't meet with them physically, was to still hold the call, connect with them shamanically through a shamanic journey, and collect their prayers from a distance, which is what we did last night. And my intention is to return physically when the zoo reopens, and we will again offer them ceremony and be able to interact with them in person. But until then, this was the animals. I did check with them, and they really wanted to meet with us. They are really missing the people. The message that they wanted to pass on to us was, you know, an important one. They didn't want us to forget about them. And they didn't mean just us, people, I believe, on the call, but also everyone else. The bigger message is that as we shut ourselves away, and shelter at home, is to not forget our connections to nature, as well as our connections to other people. And when I did ceremony last night, when I brought the prayer stick to fire, the energy was very, very strong. It was beautiful, it was gentle, but it was strong. And it was so strong that my cat Manitou, who tends to be a bit of he's very drawn to energy, not necessarily from the perspective of, oh, let me help you with that, but, oh, let me draft on that energy. So as I'm kneeling in front of the fire, kind of resting on my heels, he's trying to walk in front of me. And of course, the fire was very hot. And he was just totally ignoring the fact that, he could potentially have sparks covering him. So I kept pushing him back. And he insisted on getting, still in front of me. So after I pushed him away for the third time, he finally decided he was going to try to climb up on my thighs, which of course weren't really a lap, they're at an incline. So he's lying on his side with his legs dangling off, purring like a banshee, staring into the fire and just basically loving the energy. And that is something that it's very important that the zoo animal ambassadors and the other animals want us to remember, that we have strong energetic connections to them, as well as being relatives. That's why we say all my relations. I'd like to just share very briefly, excuse me, I need a little tea. I'm getting more relaxed and comfortable about this. Welcome to your chat with Rose. I've visited the zoos all my life. As a child, they were my favorite place to go. And I used to continue that as an adult, even though I moved away from the Philadelphia Zoo, which is my home base, my original connections to the zoo animal ambassadors. And it was on a visit there. I had become a Reiki practitioner. I wasn't a Reiki master yet. I was a Reiki level 2. And I had my awareness raised that day by a jaguar who I subsequently came to know and call as Rain the jaguar. And here's a photo. Let's see if I can get the glare off of that. There is Rain. Photo's a little faded. I need to have a new printout one of these days. Rain, of course, is now in spirit. But Rain was my original teacher. He raised my awareness immensely as to his purpose and his desire and need for people to connect with him in a spiritual and an energetic way in order to facilitate change in this world. So when that moment that I had with him, and I'll just briefly review it. There is a longer version on my website, an interview that I've done. He was pacing, very agitated. And, it felt like he needed something, and I didn't know what it was. And it was the type of enclosure where there was glass, and then just a little spacer. So he was about in the middle of his enclosure. And I kind of got the nudge to see if he'd like some Reiki. Maybe that would help. So I asked permission and granted. Began sending him Reiki. And he stopped his pacing. And he turned and walked straight towards us. Came right up to the glass. And then turned around and laid down so that his haunches were right up against the glass. I mean, I could have reached out and touched him if the glass hadn't been there. And so I'm now looking up his back and up the back of his head, still sending Reiki along with the person that was with me. And I could watch all the muscles in his body gradually relax. And then he turned his head and he looked directly into my eyes. And I made many visits to the zoo. The animals don't stare into your eyes. Staring is, for many species, a form of aggression or potential threat. But his eyes were very soft, as you saw in the photo. And he's holding my gaze. And he basically invited me in. And I kind of fell into this place where we were one. And he invited me all the way into the place where we weren't jaguar and human. And he greeted me, acknowledged an acceptance of what we were doing, awareness of this energy, but also a greeting between equals. Not human, not jaguar. Essential, energetic, spiritual, soul level. And I'd loved animals all my life. I respected them. And I realized in that moment I'd only scratched the surface of what was possible in connecting with them. It was literally an eye-opening experience and heart-opening. And it led to a much longer story. The long story short is that Rain is the jaguar father, I guess, if you will, of my ceremonies with the zoo animals. And I've had many teachers over the years. Windwalker is one of them, Mountain Lion, who is now in spirit but used to live at Earthfire Institute. And the animals last night for the ceremony with the Woodland Park Zoo animal ambassadors reminded me, as did my allies this morning, that despite the challenge, the emotional challenge that we have right now, physical challenges as well, we have an opportunity at this time to hit the reset button on how we live our lives and how we connect with all our relations. I'm like, which story do I tell first here? So recently there was a piece of news about the elephants, some of the elephants in Thailand that are part of an organization that catered to tourists. And they had these wooden saddles that the elephants wore and would carry the people around their back through the jungles. And it was an experience to ride the elephants, and they're Asian elephants. The news piece was that, of course, the camps are closed because there aren't any tourists right now. And the people who own these camps have decided that when things resume, when tourism returns, those wooden saddles are not going back on the elephants' backs. The elephants have been turned out so that they can roam naturally, and the anticipation, their plan is to have the tourists be able to observe them in their natural habitat. Now, it's an opportunity, and it's a wonderful opportunity. However, they do have to get through being able to take care of the elephants in the meantime while tourism is not, not supporting them. But it's a way for everything to shift and change in our lives as in how we interact and connect with the animals. And I'm feeling that shift and change is here. At one of the years in ceremony with the animal ambassadors at Earthfire Institute, which is in Driggs, Idaho, a wonderful place, by the way, guys. we were, it's a place where I opened space for a walk on the wild side, answering the call of the wild, open sacred space so that the people and the animals can meet more closely. The animals that live and call Earthfire home are very aware now of what we do, but this was in the first 2 years. And Earthfire, Jean and Susan were feeling their way through how to interact with our group, as well as I was learning how to best bring the people and the animals together, etc. And there was a coyote there named Pimpernel. She was a character. She's now in spirit too. And Pimpernel had a lot of experiences. John Simpson he's an animal whisperer. Some people call him, animal trainer. He's got a different connection to the animals than, quotes, an animal trainer has. And he got the message that Pimpernel wanted to be with us in the yurt. So he says, okay, put everything up that you're, concerned about. I had all kinds of things for teaching and the event, so we're piling stuff up. And he brings in Pimpernel, and it was like coyote whirlwind. I imagine, I know that all coyotes are not like this. It's just Pimpernel, but I mean, she took the place by storm. She ran in, she grabbed something. John said no. She dropped it. She moved on to the next thing, all in like this. Boom, boom, boom. And she was a little like coyote Tasmanian devil, in a fun kind of way, but she just wanted to experience, taste, savor, jump upon life. And the message, when I finally got a chance to talk to her, the message that she offered is that in every situation, there is an opportunity. And that message came through strongly today. Her reminder to me from Spirit that we need to look for the opportunities in this situation and exploit them. So while I think of it, Earthfire Institute is an amazing and incredible place, and I may tell more stories from my events there for a Walk on the Wild side in future broadcasts. But for now, I'd like to let you all know about their new video, Emissaries from the Wild, the Animals of Earthfire. It's incredible. Its beauty will stay with you and be a place of calm and inspiration that you can return to. I'll put a link to it in the comments section. Some of you I know already know about it from my newsletters and postings on Facebook, but there may be some of you who don't, and I want everybody to know about this video. And oh yeah, I do make a cameo appearance in it. So I have urban crows, as most everybody does, but I become friends with one in particular named, well, he wants to be called Rogue, and he does behave that way. So every morning I put out nuts or something. This morning I had some leftover chicken. He's a character because he expects the best. And he knows that I can hear him. So when it comes to chicken, it's like if I just toss out some of the meat, he sits there and waits because his favorite thing is the chicken skin. So I have to make sure that there's a little bit of chicken skin with every serving of chicken. He's not spoiled. No, not at all. So I took the opportunity this morning to ask him if he knew what was happening with the people, and he was aware. And, he kind of said it's really quiet out here. Not as much opportunity for good things to eat either. So I asked him what his advice was. And he said to stay in our hearts. And he actually showed me just being here. And I said, so what exactly do you mean by that? And he's like, you need to reconnect. Just don't go into the fear. The fear, fear is all of this. If you stay here and you connect with us, you can stay grounded. So my suggestion to all of you is, as you sit or walk, maybe you sit in your yards, maybe you walk through the neighborhood, maybe you're only able to like lean out your window. If you're walking, take out your earbuds. Listen to the songs of the birds as they court. It's spring here, anyways. If you're walking, pay attention to your feet and your connection to the earth. Be in your body and your heart. Allow your mind to rest. It gets plenty of exercise. And as you walk or as you're out being in nature, offer gratitude from your heart to those that you see, all your relations that you see. It could be the daffodils, the tulips, the trees that are blooming, or other harbingers of spring where you are. I mean, here we're moving into tulip stage. I know some of you elsewhere in the country aren't quite there yet. It's coming. Offer gratitude to the urban wildlife that you see, the squirrel, the birds that are gathering, either nesting materials, courting, hunting insects, etc. I've even seen a couple bees, and I'm always ever so grateful and so happy to see them again. So set your intention while you're out being in nature, and from your heart tell all your relations, before you set out, maybe as you're sitting in the yard at the beginning, or as you set out on your journey, set your intention and just kind of send the message out. And by that is just like, by intending, there's nothing special that you have to do. Let them know that you will do your best to listen and take their teaching to heart and implement whatever guidance that you receive to the best of your ability. And they also want to let us know that we should remember to connect with our fellow human beings as well, especially at this time when the ways that we normally interact and connect have been taken away from us. There is actually a great opportunity here to become villages rather than neighborhoods in isolation, as many of us have been. I know for myself, I live alone with I don't live alone. I have Manitou and Night Sky, but there aren't any other humans sharing the space with me. My family is on the East Coast. My friends are scattered around the area. There aren't necessarily people that I can hang with in the neighborhood. So it's usually pretty quiet for me here, but it's become even more so. And I'm becoming more aware, especially as I read notices like on Nextdoor, and on I've joined the West Seattle Women's Connection, I think it's called, on Facebook. It's a group, and it's been really interesting to hear people share how much they're struggling with loneliness and isolation. And I thought, wow, I do know something about that because of the nature of my work. It's all virtual from here, and I don't have a car. So that limits me a bit. So, they're creating positive events that people can participate in. There's a virtual coffee meetup on Friday that someone set up through Zoom, and I'm gonna try to participate in that. It's as you walk out in the neighborhood, or maybe just from your window, it all depends on what your accessibility is. Be daring, smile and wave at people going by from across the street. And if you don't get a smile and a wave in return, don't take it to heart. And if you do take it to heart, remember that you can do clearing with the stone person, as we covered in day 2. You don't know what that person is going through right now. Perhaps there's something going on, they don't see you, or they're just not feeling it, and they might welcome your greeting on another day. In any case, put yourself out there. Challenging for me. I'm sure it's challenging for a lot of you as well. But we need to try to create a different way of being after we return to what would be the new normal for all of this, because the old normal isn't working. So we have an opportunity to create a better world with the support and connections with all our relations and with ceremony, with energy. That's very, very important. Those are the pieces that have been missing. So, other ways that people are talking about and that I'm attempting to participate in is on Nextdoor. People are putting rainbows in their windows so that the children, when they walk through the neighborhood, can kind of point them out. Well, you can see behind me that way that I have a rainbow scarf hanging across my door, which was a gift from someone at some time. And I can't hang it in my window because Night Sky would have ever so much fun with it, but when the door is closed, it hangs there. Another thing that people are doing is to put a teddy bear in their window. Again, so the children can kind of go on a virtual, a scavenger hunt throughout the neighborhood, collecting the images and, looking for them. And I don't have a teddy bear, so my window has two little cute wolf stuffies who travel with me every year in ceremony to the wildlife in Yellowstone. They're our travel buddies. They guard the road and the trail. So I'm going to conclude here. I don't think I'm ever going to make 15 minutes, guys. My guides have told me that the first 3 days of this with the plant allies, the stone people, and Reiki reminders were the most important. And they've told me I can take some time to pace myself and rest, which was nice of them. So, thank you all for being here, for spending this time. I hope that you found it helpful, and I hope that you have a lovely day. Take care, everybody.